we shall talk about one more feature which is common to object-oriented programming language, which is called as inheritance. Let's first understand the general meaning of this word inheritance. Say a child is born. The child gets the genes, characteristics of the parents as well as the grandparents. So the child inherits the characteristics in terms of health, behavior from his parents and grandparents and so on. That is known as inheritance. So just forget that inheritance from real life. Let's bring it up to programming. Let us say I have started a school. Okay, it's just from first to 10th standard. So what I do is I decide to write software for that. So I capture just a few information: the age, gender, parents' name, height, weight, registration number, name, and class of a student. So I capture the data and I have code to process this data, to print labels, to print list according to class and so on. Then what I do is I suddenly start doing well and I start a PUC class. There is a very good chance that students in my school are going to continue to that PUC class. So what I do is I develop another program, or you can say another application, which uses the basic data which I have already captured of a student and only adds the new data item, like from which school he or she came, assuming he came from some different school, what was his or her percentage in 10th, what are the marks in PUC of each subject, what is, whether he's a art student, science student, or a commerce student. So what I have done is I am reusing what is in student. I am only adding new data and code which is required to process a PUC student. But my original data plus my new data both are accessible to me in this PUC student. Now it is so possible that I do well and I start a MBA college. So what happens is, assume my student itself from school joins my MBA after finishing his PUC. So what I do is the basic data is already with me. For the MBA student, I capture from where did he do his degree. So the university name, what was his marks or grade in 12th, what was his marks or grade in the degree, what is his specialization in MBA, whether finance, HR, marketing, and so on, and what electives he has chosen. So here what I am trying to tell, or give it in simple words, is when I am developing the PUC application, I am reusing the data as well as the code of the student application. When I am developing MBA application, I am reusing the code and data of student application along with MBA student application. So this fellow has access to code and data of this fellow. This fellow has access to code and data of this fellow plus this fellow. Now let's try to understand what is inheritance. So if you look at it, you can consider student to be the original or the base object or base class. This is the derived class. This is also a derived class. So let me take a diagram which helps you or aids you understand this concept in a much easier way. So here you go. So take a look at this particular diagram. So student is my first application where I have captured the basic data. Then when I build the PUC student, this is the base class or the base object. I inherit all the data and applications into the PUC student application. So advantage is I am not redeveloping this particular application again in PUC. I am reusing the student application in PUC. So what happens is it aids reusability. The data and functions known as behavior and characteristics of this student are inherited here. So this contains the features of this plus this. Similarly, MBA contains the student of this plus this. So student is the base class, this and this are the derived class. Okay, this fellow gets the behavior and characteristics of this plus this. This fellow gets the behavior and characteristics of this plus this. So this is what you mean by inheritance. Think of it like this. I've developed one application which contains data and code. I create two new applications. The applications can borrow all the data and code from the first created application, that is called as inheriting all the data and functions. So this is what you really mean by inheritance.